Dricus Du Plessis and Israel Adesanya are set to fight this weekend, but the question is, how did their beef start? Well, first we're gonna have to take you back to 2016. The City Kickboxing team would sign up to go train at Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand. The names included on this list were, of course, Dan Hooker, Alexander Volkanovski, and none other than Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya began sparring at Tiger Muay Thai, and in that gym would be none other than Dricus Du Plessis. Now, little has been said about this sparring session, but Israel Adesanya says that he did good in the striking, while Dricus Du Plessis maintains that he did good in the grappling, which is what we would expect in this matchup. But Izzy signed with the UFC in 2017, and took him less than 2 years to become the UFC undisputed middleweight champion, beating Robert Whittaker, and going on a huge title reign, taking out guys like Paulo Costa, Yoel Romero, Marvin Vettori, and more. Now, while Israel Adesanya was in the height of his career, in October of 2020, Dricus Du Plessis made his UFC debut, and would maintain undefeated in the UFC until this day. Now, Israel Adesanya would be the star in championship fights for a very long time, for 3 years, and in that 3 years having a record of 6-3, 4 title defenses, and 2 knockouts, while also losing the middleweight title and gaining it again. While Dricus in that time was criticized for his fighting style, for looking sloppy and looking tired out there, all the way up until Dricus Du Plessis got a life-changing nose surgery and faced Robert Whittaker in a fight many people thought Dricus Du Plessis had no chance in, and Dricus, of course, winds up beating Robert Whittaker and facing off with Israel Adesanya. Now, why was Israel Adesanya so eager to confront Dricus Du Plessis after his win against Robert Whittaker? I mean, sure, Dricus Du Plessis is the #1 contender. Well, of course, I think it is well known that it all started because at UFC 285 Fight Week, Dricus Du Plessis was asked a question about Africa and MMA during an interview, and he said this.
Well, I mean, did those belts ever go to Africa? As far as I know, it came to America and New Zealand. I'm going to take a belt to Africa. I'm the African fighter in the UFC. Myself and Cameron, we breathe the African air. We wake up in Africa every day. We train in Africa. We're African born. We're African raised. We still reside in Africa. We train out of Africa. That's an African champion, and that's who I'll be.
Dricus's comments would definitely rub people the wrong way, with a lot of people saying, how are you going to judge Israel Adesanya and say he's not African? He was born in Africa, and just because you leave Africa doesn't really change that. And I've always maintained that I thought this was just a stupid thing to fight about, but I think it's interesting that at least these two have some sort of heat. It's a nice rivalry, but I don't think it's something that people should legitimately be offended about. Now, Kamaru Usman, who Dricus Du Plessis also criticized by saying that comment, did not like what Dricus had to say, and in that same fight week had this to say.
I actually saw that. I think it's this week or last week. My one of my former teammates sent it to me. I understand what he's trying to say, but the one thing that I think he's failing to realize is, just because I go to China and my parents are in China and I'm raised in China, that doesn't make me more Chinese than the people from China. That doesn't make me more Chinese.
Then Israel Adesanya would go on to knock out Alex Pereira, getting a good win against him. And in the post-fight press conference, he would subtly mention Dricus Du Plessis throwing some shots at him. And here's what Adesanya had to say.
Look, fuck, I don't want to give this nigga no clout. Speak on people that have come before you, people that paved the way for you. You got to pick your words wisely. You want to try and be a big boy. You want to bamba. You want to G with the big boys. You got to choose your words wisely, but I don't want to give him no clout. But if he does work, and I pray to God he keeps winning, I will gladly drag his carcass across South Africa. Wallahi.
So it's no wonder that after Dricus Du Plessis managed to upset the odds, Israel Adesanya was happy and ready to fight his opponent. However, this of course did not wind up happening. Now, the fight between Dricus and Israel Adesanya was set less than 2 months after Dricus beat Robert Whittaker. So that would be not enough time, of course, for Dricus to face Israel Adesanya, leading for Dricus to not want to fight on that day, leaving Adesanya without an opponent, and Adesanya saying, look, he's willing to fight anybody, and calls out Sean Strickland. And I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Of course, Israel Adesanya would be a massive favorite going into that Sean Strickland fight, and Sean Strickland would absolutely dominate the fight, outclass Adesanya, and have the best performance of all time against Adesanya, if we're going to be honest. The guy won 4 rounds to 1, and Izzy definitely didn't know what to do after that point. But during his hiatus, we saw Dricus Du Plessis face Sean Strickland for that middleweight strap, and of course, we saw one of the closest fights in championship history for sure, and it really could have gone either way, but Dricus Du Plessis managed to beat Sean Strickland, giving him the title, and the only obvious name that people wanted to see next was Israel Adesanya. Of course, you had people like me saying Sean Strickland deserved it more, or even Robert Whittaker, but at the end of the day, this is a rivalry, and I'm excited to see who is going to win. I think Dricus Du Plessis really needs to grapple early in this matchup. If he gets Israel Adesanya tired very early, Dricus will be able to do better on the feet, right? It's going to just have more openings. Israel Adesanya is going to be going backwards. The grappling threat is going to make things even on the feet. I think Dricus should definitely feint the takedown. That'll make Adesanya go backwards and make him a little bit more likely to throw more. And I think that's the game plan, because then Dricus will easily get some rounds. You know, a takedown will be able to steal a round. However, Adesanya is definitely being doubted. I feel a lot of people are just picking Dricus Du Plessis, especially MMA fans. Izzy needs to use his feints, right? That's one of the best weapons he has in his arsenal, because we saw Dricus really confused by Robert Whittaker in that fight, by the switch dances, by some of the feints, and Izzy needs to stay away from the fence, because if not, Dricus Du Plessis is going to take him down. Adesanya needs to have some good footwork to circle out and get back to the center. I'm curious to see, though, how Adesanya's boxing training affects this fight, right? Because one of the things he's been doing in this period, he went to Mexico to really work on his boxing. Now, I thought he had really good head movement and really good counters. Like, I definitely think that's something underrated in Adesanya's game, so I was surprised to see him do this. But does that mean that he's going to be more prone to counter a guy like Dricus Du Plessis, right? Because Dricus does come in reckless at times. He's there to get hit, and I can see a scenario if Adesanya is going in with the game plan to land that shot like he did with Alex Pereira, it could be bad for Dricus Du Plessis. But that's a big if, because I think if we've learned anything as MMA fans this year, the pure grappling threat will make things even on the feet. We saw it with Islam and Dustin Poirier. We saw it with Bilal and Leon. We also saw the same thing with Corey Stanhagen and Umar a little over a week ago. So I think we've learned this year that Dricus Du Plessis will probably be Israel Adesanya, right? Because we've learned that, hey, even if you're bad on the feet, right? Even if you're just going for takedowns and not the best on the feet, you'll be able to make elite level strikers look mid, right? Because of that takedown threat, because you're constantly going backwards, because you're afraid to throw. We've seen that a lot this year, and I think it's going to be another case of that. My prediction is Dricus Du Plessis by 48-47. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think Adesanya will have some moments early, but I think Dricus needs to get the grappling early, neutralize Adesanya in the later rounds, and I think he can get a decision that way. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you guys have for this fight? Check out my last video where I talk about UFC 307's big problem that they're having finding a main event, as well as my other video talking about Conor McGregor, talking about Trump, and talking about Michael Chandler, and just going after everybody. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.